Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you the curriculum choices that I have made for the upcoming 2021-2022. Yeah, that's right. I can't believe we're already here and we're already making the decisions, but I want to share with you the curriculum choices that we're making for the upcoming year for my kindergartner. Now, you know that she is my fourth, so this is the fourth time that I'm going through and teaching the kindergarten curriculum that I have done with my three boys in previous years. So I've shared before, I shared with you last year that everything that I have, I kind of store away. I keep it in some tubs in our basement for just this kind of time, right? When we're starting a new year, I pull out the things that we've used in the past and I pull them out for her so that we're ready to go. And I've also shared in the past that while I do rely on using the same curriculum for subsequent kids, I don't hold myself to it and don't allow myself to switch. So basically, I'm not a slave to the curriculum. If the curriculum isn't working for my kiddo, I'm not going to just push through all the tears and all the whining and all the complaining. I do allow myself that freedom to switch something if it's not working. And so while I'm sharing with you, these choices, and if you decide to, take that advice and go and give some of these things a try, know that if they don't work for your kid, it's okay to make a switch. It's okay to try something different. All of our kids learn differently. And so, we want to teach them and in a way that's going to work for them and not just plow through even if it's making everyone miserable. So I just always like to share that right off the bat. Everyone's got to do what works for them as, kids, as families, as teachers. If you're hating a curriculum, that's probably going to bleed over to your kids as well. So just wanted to share that right off the beginning. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the different things that we have chosen for our kindergartner. So my daughter, this is for Eden. She is my one and only daughter. She's my fourth. And we're continuing on with teaching the main things of reading, writing, and arithmetic that I am directly teaching to her individually. So I will share a video in the future of the things that we'll be covering or that we plan to cover in our morning basket time, things that we cover for like Bible, history, science, poetry, art, those kind of things that we do more on a loop schedule. I will share that in a future video, so you can be on the lookout for that. But these things that I'm sharing today, they are more to her grade level, things like reading, writing, and math. So I will go ahead and start with the math choice that we have. This is obviously, if you've followed me for any amount of time, you know that I am a fan of Saxon. Not because it is beautiful and colorful and bright and cheery, but because it just is a solid program and it works. It is a spiral approach, has a lot of built-in review, but if you're looking for something that's just gonna be super pretty and colorful and lots of pictures, this isn't going to be what you want. I like this one because I have had this since my oldest is 11, and I started this with him. I used it with my next kiddo, and now I'm following up with my last, and it's held together. Obviously you can see it's showing signs of wear, but all of the info is there. I can use it from year to year, and all I have to do is buy the reproducible worksheets for each kid every year. So I do love that about it, is that it works for every kid, and I don't have to buy a new teacher's guide or new, everything all together in order to go through this curriculum. So it's Saxon Math 1. If you're not familiar with how we've chosen it, our experience is that Saxon is going to be a level ahead. So even though I am choosing a kindergarten curriculum, this Math 1, you might think, oh, that's for first grade. It's actually more appropriate for a kindergartner. So don't let that confuse you. We used Math K in preschool, and we're using Math 1 for kindergarten. And I have found with my three boys that it has been on par for what you would expect for a kindergartner. Now looking in, it is very much just black and white directions. It'll give you an example here. So it'll kind of tell you what maybe you need to prepare for your lesson, if there's anything you need to grab or make the night before, or things that you might need to prepare for the lesson. Once you get through that, it goes through the meeting, which is, going through your meeting book. And I have an example right here. So this is an example of the meeting book. This is something that is going to be used by the child. So if you were wanting to get it, you would have to buy a new one for each subsequent kid. But this is the home study meeting book. And basically what you're doing here is you're learning the basics about a calendar. So they're going to fill in the blank calendar and learn the days of the week and the months, the year, and learn how to fill in the date. And then it's also allowing you opportunities to make graphs. So here we're going to graph the weather, whether it was sunny, cloudy, rainy, or snowy. And then it'll give you lots of questions to ask based on the weather. And it goes through, we'll talk about the different seasons. So it gives you opportunities to talk about all four. They can draw a picture. And with my three boys, I've always had them draw what the trees look like in the fall. So we can look at, the trees that are losing their leaves in the winter. In the fall, they're more red and orange. In the spring, they're, green. And same with, actually a lot of times by the time we get to summer, I'm not sure if we've ever done a summer tree, but it allows us to have conversations with all of these different things. I'm trying to see, we might have go over some shapes and patterns. Trying to see if there's anything different in here that we would go through. Those are mainly it. We have some a counting table in the back. It'll work on left hand and right hand, practicing that. So this is just like a daily activity that we'll do. We'll get out our calendar, we'll add the next day, we'll talk about what day of the week that it is, what month it is, and it's a continual question and answer period during our math lesson. And so when you look in your teacher guide or your lesson guide, it actually has the meeting, and that's where it's talking about calendar. Go to your weather graph, do some counting, do a number pattern. Let's look at a clock and determine, okay, is it morning? Is it afternoon? Is it evening? Those things. So that meeting, where it's saying the meeting in our book, those are the kinds of things that you're talking about. You're referring to your meeting book and you're asking those questions continually, maybe not all the same questions, especially once your kid has grasped them. You don't need to beat a dead horse. So you kind of move on to the new stuff that they're introducing. And a lot of times I might ask, some questions on Monday, some questions on Tuesday, some questions on Wednesday, and I don't go necessarily through word for word every single question that's in this book. So, if you're new to homeschooling and you like the idea of a script, great, because there is a script in here. If you aren't new to homeschooling and you want to give this a try, just glance through the script, but don't be a slave to it. Don't allow yourself to, read exactly word for word. So being that this is the fourth time that I've gone through this curriculum, I don't read word for word through the script. I kind of glance at what I'm teaching. I've slowly over time learned tips and tricks of how to teach this to my kid. I've learned how my kids learn, and I kind of adapt a lesson around their best ways of learning. So once you get through that meeting, I've totally digressed, I apologize. You get to the actual lesson, and this is the new lesson that you're learning for that day. So this would be, I guess, for this lesson, she's going to learn how to write the number 33 and using non-standard units to measure length and width. So like using Unifix cubes, and you might pick up something and see how many cubes long it is or how many cubes wide it is, just using something to measure something else instead of a ruler. And then a lot of times, as they get further on, there might be a few math fact worksheets to do, like some basic addition or subtraction problems that she might be working on. So that's basically what every single lesson looks like in here. It's just black and white. It's not flashy, but it is a very solid program. I can attest to that. I do feel like it teaches it very well, and it does set your kids up to have a very good grasp in math. Now, with that, so they are doing the meeting book if you are wanting to teach that, but then the reproducible worksheet things that I buy in addition that I can't reuse from year to year, you can buy just a set. So I literally had purchased these. It came together like this, wrapped in plastic, and this is what I purchased new. And these are the worksheets that Eden is going to be doing. And they're so, in the beginning, we're talking very basic. So like even up into lesson 6. So they're perforated at the top, so I'll just be able to rip them out as we go. I won't leave them bound in this because I can tell you she's gonna hate that, wanting to flip over on her. But super basic things here. We're learning to write our numbers. We're gonna color 2 squares yellow, color 3 squares orange, color 4 circles green, color 1 circle red. So even though I'm saying worksheet, it's still not super difficult material. It's gonna be a lot of activity kind of things, like where she's gonna have to pick out her crayons and color the right appropriate, number of objects on the paper. And I don't, this may differ from child to child, but she kind of loves to sit and color and do little activities like this. Maybe my boy's not as much, but she definitely is like my worksheet girl, where she wants to sit down and, oh, can I do another one? Can I do tomorrow's? And I have to kind of reel her back from doing several worksheets at one point. So I know this isn't going to be too much of a chore for her. She's probably going to like doing the worksheets. But if you're worried that, it's going to take a lot of time, I can tell you in years past, these worksheets do go very quickly, because in the end, there's really only 3 problems here where we're writing some numbers, we're doing some coloring and counting, and then down here, we're going to color the squares red and color the circles blue, and then count how many squares and how many circles. So all in all, even though, you're talking about doing a worksheet, in our preschool Saxon curriculum, we weren't doing worksheets. It was very activity based, where we were playing with counting bears and pattern blocks and different things like that. This actually is implementing a worksheet, but they're still super simple. They're going to be completed within 5 or 10 minutes. It's not going to take a lot of time. Now, as you near to, there were 2 of these booklets that have the worksheet to cover the entire year. Now, as you do get to the end of the year, you're talking at the end of your kindergarten year, you do start to see some basic math fact worksheets where they're just going to do some addition problems and some subtraction problems. And that starts, more near toward the end of the year as well. And also included in this, I forgot to open it. Here, let me see if I can get it. Included in the with all of these reproducible worksheets, you also get there, to take that wrapper off, flashcards. So these are the flashcards that they'll use, and they're introduced in appropriate lessons that kind of lead up to it, so they don't jump into it immediately. It's more toward the second half to the end of the year. But these are just some flashcards. I can tell you I have and have not used them in the past. I have some kids who do need some extra practice just to have some basic math facts memorized. I have other kids that have it's come relatively easily to, and we've not used them. They are just included. It's not really an option as far as excluding them if you buy the worksheets, but they do come with all of the curriculum if you so would like to use them. All right, so that was our math curriculum. Now moving into where we go over the other 2 things, the reading and the writing. And this is going to be covered in our Abeka K5. So we used Abeka K4 I guess it's still going on this year. We haven't finished this current year, but it will be just a pretty similar transition. This curriculum is set up very similarly to what we have been doing. We're going to be using a lot of the same cards as far as, blend ladders and the sounds of the vowels and the consonants. So a lot of those things that we've used this year we'll continue to use this upcoming year. And it is set up very similar. If you watched my preschool video, this is set up the same way and very similar to Saxon. It's not, this is the teacher guide where it's going over the lessons. It's not flashy or colorful or have lots of pictures. Now, the worksheets in this are different because the worksheets are colorful and flashy and have a little bit more going on than the Saxon worksheets. But this is what we are using. So I know Abeka is a hot button issue. A lot of people love it and a lot of people hate it, and I kind of fall somewhere in between. I do love the fact that they teach phonics and the idea of sounding words out, and that there are special sounds and letters that go together to make blends. And if we, you know, not all the words are going to follow these rules, but if we can set up a basic foundation of some sounds make these sound, you know, this sound, and if we just use that as our basis, it kind of helps in the building to read. Now, there obviously, as you start to read, you start to realize there are a lot of exceptions in the English language. So, you know, we use Abeka for up through grade 3, and then we kind of make a transition and we switch off. I do like the foundation phonics program, but I have noticed, in this being my 4th time going through this, that it does have a lot of busy work. So there's lots of worksheets. There's just lots of redundancy of making you do the same writing and, you know, activities over and over. And I'm not a huge fan of that because I'm not in a traditional school setting. I don't need to keep my child busy while I'm working with another child all the time. So I do kind of pick and choose from the worksheets that we get of, okay, you're not going to do this today. You've mastered writing the letter A. We don't need to, you know, keep doing that. So I will say that, you know, always tailor the curriculum to work for you, not you work for it. So if you need to focus on something, by all means, focus on it. But if your child's got it, let them move on. Go on to something different. So that's what we are using, and that's what these, you can see on the front, these are the different books that I ordered. So obviously I've already had this. I had the teacher guide or the lesson plans from the time that I taught my oldest. I've kept this and used it for all 3 previous, and I'll use it again. This is what I specifically had to order for Eden this year. So she has a letters and sounds workbook, a writing with phonics, and then a think and learn. So the think and learn is more activity based. So it'll have like fun things like this for Thanksgiving, like draw a hand and form it into a turkey, or to practice drawing, let's see, like a little cook using a square, or like circling the kids who aren't playing friendly, or, you know, making a graph about people's favorite ice cream, or circling the object that doesn't belong. Like, this is much more like activity. There's not even 100 pages in here. So just kind of like, even some I think make like you can cut out the squares and make a matching game. It's just more activity based with this one. This one is where we will work on writing her letters. So these worksheets look more like this, where she's going to focus on her letters and writing them. And this is a lot of times where I'm going to put like X's on, like, we're not going to need, if she already knows how to write a W, I'm not going to make her write them like 15 times. So if she's got it, I might mark off half of the worksheet and say, okay, you've got it. We don't need to do all of that. So this is where you can kind of put it together for your child. If it's too much, take a worksheet out, put it in the garbage. If they need to work on it, then keep it in the rotation. So that's the writing with phonics worksheets. And then the last one is the letters and sounds. And this one isn't so much of writing either. It's more of working with the phonics and looking at a picture and circling the letter that's going to complete the word. Maybe some coloring in this as well, but matching the pictures whose names begin with the same letter. So you're saying them out loud, figuring, okay, deer, turtle, or duck. Which one has the same beginning sound? So these are more activity, and I like these ones because she can focus on the phonics rules or the sounds or things like that, but it doesn't require her to do a lot of writing. It's more of like circling or filling in the little circle at the bottom and some coloring. So while still working on skills, not requiring her to do a lot of writing. You know, that kind of brings me to the last point, is that she is in kindergarten, and so still the majority of our day is going to be focusing on playing. A lot of times, unless she is super adamant about getting a start early, she's usually the last kiddo that I get to in the day. And up until that point, she's playing. She's playing with her toys in her room. She's playing with her brothers who aren't, you know, doing their lessons with me. So, you know, with her preschool, we're wrapping up in like 15 or 20 minutes. Being that we're going to be, you know, she's getting older, and with everything gets a little bit more difficult as she progresses, but still my expectation is that at a kindergarten level, we're going to be done in a half an hour to 45 minutes based on whatever she has to do. She loves worksheets, so I think I have that going for me. I just wanted to point that out though. Like, I'm not going to require her to be sitting at a desk all day. I'm not going to be requiring her to write, you know, papers and oodles of writing. The majority of her day I want to be spent playing, being creative, and reading books. So, you know, that's another thing to point out, is that I don't have necessarily included in this curriculum, but every time when she and I finish her, you know, school and her worksheets, we'd go and grab several books off the bookshelf and we read those stories with one another. And I like that time as well, where we're, you know, she's listening to good literature, we're sitting together, we're spending quality time, but you know, a lot of her day is just spent playing. And I think that's so important, so that even though I have this curriculum, I will say that my time, being that this is the 4th time that I have gone through this, I have learned to relax. That she's in kindergarten, and you know, if there is a day that we're just not feeling it, we're gonna skip it because it's just kindergarten. All these skills that I'm talking about, the numbers, the addition, the subtraction, the putting, you know, basic, you know, consonant, vowel, consonant words like cat and dog together, those things are going to come, and I'm not stressed out about it in kindergarten. So, you know, if you're worried about getting your kindergartners started and going through this with them, just remember to take a deep breath and relax, that they're going to get it eventually. And if they don't get it this year, it's totally okay. Take it from someone who's done it a time or two, that, you know, it's much better to be relaxed about this than to come into it really stressed, because, you know, they're just so young. They have so much time ahead of them, and I want you to enjoy this time with your kids. All right, guys, that's all I have for the curriculum choices for my kindergartner. If you have any questions, as always, I would love to answer them for you. If you want a more in-depth look into anything that I have, I can do my best and try to get that to you as well. Just let me know in the comments below. All right, can you tell them your name? Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Eden.
Okay, Eden, how old are you?
4.
All right, but for next school year, how old are you going to be? What comes after 4? 5, very good. Yeah.
And then 6.
Very good. 6. All right.
And then 7.
Yep.
And then 8.
Yes. You'll just keep going, won't you? All right. Can you tell them what grade are you going to be in?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Very good. Do you like school?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite part of school? You don't know? Do you like to read your books?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love eating.
You love eating. Well, I love eating too. Do you like, let's see. Do you like writing? You're kind of crazy. All right. Are you excited for next school year?
No.
No. You like school, but you're not excited for next year. All right. Tell everyone, say thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
All right, guys. Have a very blessed day. Say bye.
Bye.